In this video, I'm going to show you some soft tissue mobilizations you can do at home to improve your hip mobility. Hip mobility is really important if you want to be able to bend, squat, go up and down stairs, and it's typically something that people don't work a ton on. But I'm going to show you actually an entire lower extremity soft tissue mobility workout that you can do, and then that will make your ability to kind of get into different positions much improved. So the first one that we're going to do is a soft tissue release for the muscles on the back side of the hip. All you're going to need is a lacrosse ball. So some people say, can I use a tennis ball? A tennis ball gives a little bit too much. Can I use a baseball? Baseball is a little bit too hard. Lacrosse ball is kind of the perfect consistency, and they're pretty cheap, so you can get them. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay down on the floor. I typically lay down on a yoga mat. Laying on a hard floor is probably going to be a little bit too aggressive for this mobilization. Laying on a bed is probably going to be a little bit too soft. It's going to give too much give. So something that is hard, but it has a little bit of cushion to it, like a yoga mat is perfect. You know, if you have a yoga mat, put some towels down. You can put some blankets down. Do whatever works best for you. You're going to lay down onto your back, and you're going to take this lacrosse ball, and you're going to put it on the back side of your hip. So there's lots of muscles, connective tissue back here that needs to be released for your hips to move properly. So from here, what you're going to do is put it on the back side of the hip, and then you're going to lean into this lacrosse ball. So if you're leaning into it and you're feeling really sharp pain going down your leg, that's a little bit too aggressive. If you're not feeling much at all, then you've got to kind of put a little bit more pressure. It's okay to feel a little discomfort here, but not a ton of excruciating pain. So you're going to find a spot on the back side of the hip, and then all you're going to do is plant this foot, and you're going to rotate out and then back. So you're going to go out as far as you can go and then come back. And what you're doing is you're dragging that soft tissue, connective tissue muscles along the lacrosse ball and kind of doing a self-massage. So you're mobilizing that tissue, pushing around, deflecting the tissue to kind of loosen it up, which will make your mobility work, stretching, joint capsule mobility, muscle lengthening exercises a little bit easier to do. You're preparing the tissue to stretch a little bit more. So I typically set a timer for 2 minutes, and every 4 or 5 times I change the position of that lacrosse ball just a little bit to get different parts of the backside of your hip, and you'll feel a difference. Some will feel, yeah, I don't feel too much pressure there, and then you'll get on some parts that feel a lot of pressure, and those are the areas that you probably want to stick around a little bit more on to kind of loosen up the tissue. That's for glutes on the back side of the hip, external rotators of the hip that typically need a lot of work. The next one you're going to do is while we're down here, is a lacrosse ball release for calves. So we love lacrosse balls because they have different contours to them. If you want to use a water bottle for this or a foam roller, that's fine too. But you're basically going to put some pressure down on the calf muscle. So this calf muscle runs from the back of your knee all the way down to your heel. So you're doing the same thing. You're going to find spots there that need to be released, and then I'm going to move this foot back and forth. So toe all the way down, toe all the way back up. Same thing, I'm going to set a 2-minute timer and then just go back and forth. And every 4 or 5 times I do that, then I'm going to find a different spot on the back side of the calf to loosen up. Right? So now we've gotten 2 sections of the posterior chain, hip and calf. The last section of the posterior chain is kind of this hamstring muscle area. So you need a chair for that. Same thing, double lacrosse ball works really good. You can use a foam roller or a water bottle works good. But because of the contours of this, we really like it. So you're going to put pressure here, and you're going to lean into this lacrosse ball. And same kind of concept. What's going to happen is I'm going to extend this knee, so I'm dragging this tissue across that lacrosse ball back and forth to kind of loosen up any scar tissue adhesions that have developed just over time. So same thing, 2-minute timer. Every 4 or 5 times you do that, then you find a different spot. And if you find spots where you think, oh, that feels a little bit more sensitive than other areas, as long as it's not painful, not shooting, excruciating pain down your leg, then those are areas you want to try to work on a little bit more just to kind of deflect the tissue. And then the last thing we're going to do is a quad release. So from here, you're going to get down onto your mat, and it's going to be a similar kind of concept to what we just did here with your hamstring. Nice long muscle on the back of the leg. The quadricep is a long muscle on the front of the leg. So you're going to put pressure down on that lacrosse ball, and then same thing, I'm going to bring the knee into flexion and extension, just bending back and forth. Set a 2-minute timer. Every 4 or 5 times you do that, find a different spot to work on. That spot really needs some work. I'm going to lean into that a little bit as much as I can tolerate. Back and forth there. And that will loosen up the tissue and prepare it for stretches that you're going to want to do. So below in the description there'll be more information and some more exercises that I'll give you some stretches to do now that you've prepared the tissue to kind of lengthen. I'll give you some education on that. So if you like this kind of information, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel so you can get more of it. And as always, just keep moving.